And I believe we are live. Gentlemen, hey, I've got a question. So, thinking about being a wedding photographer,
Hmm.
and so, whoa, what's going on?
Oh, it's a delay. That's a Russian
Delay.
delay.
So, let's start this over. So, I'm thinking about being a wedding photographer. So, what camera's best? Canon, Nikon, Sony? I mean, does Nikon even still make cameras?
Three, two, one.
All right.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the first live episode of Let's Talk with Moscow Photographer. I'm your host, Eddie, and today I have two esteemed colleagues coming to you live from South Texas, and I'm in Moscow, Russia. And today we're going to talk about wedding photography. And, wedding photography is often viewed through the lens of glamour and joy, encapsulating the essence of love stories on one of the most significant days in a couple's life. However, behind the stunning images and heartfelt moments lies a reality filled with challenges, pressures, and unexpected turns. So dive deep into the shocking truth of being a wedding photographer as we shed light on the complexities of this profession. With that being said, let me introduce to you Jay Caballero and David Pizzat. Welcome to our live.
Thank you for having us, Ed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ed. It's good to be part of this show. I'm excited. There's so much that I want to share with everyone out there. I've have 25 years plus of being a wedding season photographer, and it's been great. And I have a lot to share for those that are looking into this profession.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, tell you what, let's kind of take a little bit of a moment and just introduce ourselves. Jay, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, what you do, and where you do it?
Okay. Well, I'm about 6'4". No, I'm just playing. But I'm a wedding photographer, just like you guys, of course. A little bit over 20 years. I've been photographing weddings here in South Texas for the most part. I got started just like everyone else, thinking that I was just as a hobbyist. Started playing around with cameras and got interchangeable lenses. And then finally, I made the move into wedding photography. Probably 2007 was when my business kind of started growing a lot more. So that kind of shows you my age a little bit. But nonetheless, it has been very fun. And there are many things, like David was saying, there are many things that are maybe not mentioned behind the lens that you have to go through in order to persevere in this beautiful industry, which can be very um, challenging. And many times it could be, something that you're not used to. It could be a little emotional. It could be a little bit of everything. But yeah, for the most part, I've done some destination weddings, but most of them have been here in South Texas.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, any questions? I do have an Instagram and that I've shared with you. So if you guys have anything you want to follow up with, I mean, definitely I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. And yes, and all of the links to both photographers are down in the description. You'll find them there. Please go to them, follow them, check out their work. They're amazing, amazing photographers.
Thank
Now I'd
you.
like you to pass it over to David Pizzat.
Mhm.
Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, yeah, so sorry I got ahead of myself here earlier, but
It's good.
I'm just going to repeat myself just a little bit here. But yeah, I have about 25 years of being a wedding photographer. I am in San Antonio, Texas, and it's been quite a journey. I think wedding photography has a lot of pluses, right? You get some amazing rewards doing this with your clients. You get to meet people, you build relationships. It's very rewarding. And then there's challenges, like Jay said, also. And I think that there's so many different aspects of this that we can cover here in a little bit. But going back to your question, I am in San Antonio. I've been doing photography for a long time now, and I'm also a mentor. And I've been a conference speaker in different conferences all over the place, all over the world. Photography is something that I enjoy doing and I'm very passionate about. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
Awesome. Where did my people go?
We're right here, Ed. All right.
Go right here.
What is going on? Okay, here we go.
You're still live, Ed. You're doing good.
So Russia's a little
Little
behind.
delayed.
I don't know.
Picture.
Wait, are you shooting Canon? Is that what's going
Well,
on?
sometimes it's Canon, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Anything
Dave,
gets it
where
done,
did the
man.
picture go?
What's that?
David's there. I can see both of you.
Yeah,
It's
I can
just
see
you.
both of you as well.
I think
Do
you're
you
talking
have do you have a Nikon camera on, Eddie? Is that what it is?
No, I have a Canon.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's there you go.
I have a Canon.
Yeah.
Okay. Over
And
on
you're
this
jumping
side,
around.
it says the video is playing in picture mode, so I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell if
Okay.
you're here, David, or not, but hopefully you are.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're all
I am.
here. Yes, we're
I'm
all here.
present.
Okay. Cool. Technical difficulties. This is my first live, so if I look like an amateur, it is because I am.
That's awesome, man.
So
It's all good.
Very much like your weddings, right, Ed?
exactly, brother. Exactly. And that's what I want to tell the folks now is how I've come to know both of these amazing wedding photographers. And I met David back in 2007 at, let's see, Renee and Diana's wedding,
That's
wasn't it?
right. Mm-hmm.
And I was a guest, and I was just getting into photography. I had my big old Canon, I think a 1D Mark II, I think at that time. And I see Dave out there with his 70 to 200. And I was like, I want to go talk to this guy. So went up and talked to David, introduced myself, and we hit it off. I said, hey, do you ever need any second shooters? And he said, yeah. He's like, why don't you come see me? Let's talk. Do you have a portfolio? I said, absolutely, I do. So I went over and met with Dave, and I guess I fooled him with my portfolio because he invited me to shoot a wedding. And
you did a great job doing that.
No, man, let me tell you, I can fool some people sometimes, man.
We're on to you,
And
Ed.
so
We're on to you.
he invites me to second shoot with a wedding. And it actually turned out that I was going to third shoot because David was second shooting for Jay. And so my first professional wedding shoot was a second shooter for David, who was second shooting for Jay. And that's when I met both of these guys professionally on the same event. So
That's awesome.
we've been friends, we've been brothers ever since, and probably always will be, right? No matter
Yes,
what
sir.
kind of camera we use, right?
Yes,
Canon,
sir. No.
Sony, Nikon, Fuji.
Yeah, I guess I can live with that.
Get the shot.
Well, it's the
Yeah.
same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, guys, we don't want to waste people's time who have come to watch this live. And we want to talk about the complexities, just as we talked about wedding photography, because it's not all skill. It's not all off-camera lighting or knowing your camera well. All that is part of it. But there's so much more to it. And in fact, we want to talk about why someone would want to get into the business of wedding photography. And one of these is going to be the allure of wedding photography. So, what is it, guys, that draws us to wedding photography? I've got my own story about why I wanted to be a wedding photographer, but let's hear it from you guys. Let's start with you, Jay.
Me? Okay. Well, it's a lot different now from when I started. So, what could I say that is something that has been monopolized, right? It's something that's very huge in the industry. It is seen as something very sexy, something you could be very passionate about in work, and work on the weekends or whatever, maybe 2 3 2 days maybe out of the week, and you're golden. You get this beautiful shots in these locations. A lot of this takes a lot of years, a lot of time, just like any other business. So I think it's a glamorous job that most of us will look for it, because it's something that we see being publicized everywhere. The guy's a wedding photographer. He travels, and he does all these things. But there's a lot of things behind the lens. There's a lot of things that happen that, for example, you got to have the right gear for the right situation, for the right of whatever your preference is shooting. Then you kind of have to go with the gear that you need for that. You could do it with any gear if you have the experience, but a lot of times if you don't have the experience, then you're going to suffer a little bit, and out of focus in quality and color or whatever it is that you're looking for. So it's alluring, because it's something very. I think back in the day, it was seen as something sexy. You're a photographer, and people ask you for their picture, and you go over there and take it. And but nowadays, I think it's that is very proclaimed. But I think the business side is a lot of times what keeps a lot of really good photographers that I've seen in my career. It kind of keeps them down, because it's just an allure, but there's no substance. Nobody's telling you the steps you need to do, or how you need to continuously keep growing that thing that you have in you, that you want to present at the world, and in a different format than everyone else. So I don't know if that answers that, but I can go on and on.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate that. And Dave, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think when I first started with photography, it's just a little bit of what Jay was talking about. It takes me back to when I was a kid. I was about 13 years old, and I remember watching movies where the photographer will bring in a beautiful girl into their studio or his home, and he would start photographing her, right? And I remember looking at this movie and thinking, like, wow, that's pretty damn cool. It's like these girls were open up themselves to the photographer, and he's able to kind of mold them and tell them what to do, in the sense, so he can get that shot, that amazing shot. So I thought it was like, watching that movie was like the coolest job anyone could have, right? And I still remember some of my friends that when I was in college, when I was still doing this, I was like, man, can I go, and can I be your assistant? I just want to be part of it. And it kind of builds like this whole rock star kind of, how can I say it? Hype, I guess you can say that, or this label of this rock star photographer world or life that you have, right? So in that sense, it's cool, but it's like Jay says, if you're going to get into this, you got to think that you're going to be in it for the long haul. This is a game that does not end. Weddings are never going to end. If anything, what we need to be careful is with ourselves, right? Our sanity, our health, most important, if you want to do it throughout, make it a career and stuff like that. And by no means am I discouraging anyone, right? And I would say the lure for me was to have the opportunity to capture pure and unscripted moments of my clients, that they were going to be able to cherish for a long time, of the unity, so for me, that is still to the day something very rewarding, right? So so that was my lure when I got started. And for another thing was that when I first got started, I guess I didn't see the whole picture, right? It's like, oh, I got a camera, I got the lens, I got the flashes, we start investing and stuff like that, and we're ready to go, right? But just there's more behind just snapping that button or that trigger. You got taxes, you got you have to deal with with our clients' personalities, you name it, bridezillas and the moms and everything that goes with it. It comes with a little bit of an emotional roller coaster as well, right? And like I said, we can touch up more on this stuff as well. But that was my lure. That was my lure getting started as a wedding photographer.
Awesome, awesome. Appreciate it.
Right.
And the allure for me was, I guess, when I was young, probably in my teen years, and a wedding photographer by the name of Monty Zucker. And Monty had some amazing wedding portraits. They were just so stunningly beautiful. And I said, I want to be able to photograph like that. And so that was my allure for wedding photography. It was an allure because it wasn't reality. But once I got into wedding photography, the allure kind of went away with the reality of it, but the the passion for photography and wedding photography then took over because as a wedding photographer, we get to be in the most intimate of spaces in a couple's life. I mean, this is the most important day in a couple's life. They're starting a new life, and we are right there with them in these most intimate, close moments. And we're photographing these for a lifetime, an eternity, hopefully for generations. And what better high could I get than to be
Yeah.
surrounded by love? Because this is a day of love and you're just consumed by it. And so for me, I get a high out of it. And this high then fuels my passion to hopefully produce some wonderful, memorable memories for this couple and their family. So that's what wedding photography kind of means for me. So, and I thank both of you for that start because both of you guys have been mentors for
Oh,
me
Ed,
from the very beginning, man. So I appreciate that, guys. Appreciate it.
you're awesome, Ed. Yes, sir.
Thank you,
No
Ed.
problem.
You got it. So one of the next topics we want to talk about are these real challenges behind the lens. And it's not always easy, is it, Dave?
No, it isn't. And I think that a lot of these photographers nowadays that they hear about influencers, like in social media or for say Instagram or TikTok, I feel like they make it really easy. Like, just get yourself the camera and go out there and just shoot, right? But I don't
Mm,
think that they really talk about the real challenges of doing wedding photography. The wedding photography itself, it's a very unique um, of type of work that no other photographers can do without having to have some real passion into it. It takes all kinds of stuff to get through this. I was reading a report not too long ago about there's more young photographers these days than older photographers that have stuck it out like we have. You know, so
mhm,
because with time they have faded off, they have burnt out. And that's another thing about wedding photography, is that it is super rewarding, but at the same time, and you have to constantly be creative. You constantly have to be reinventing yourself. You constantly need to be on top of of marketing yourself as well. So you play a lot of roles, you really do, and then you have to keep up with your taxes, your contracts, making sure that you're filling in your contracts, making sure that your clients are fully understanding your contracts, making sure that everything's on paper, so there's no there's no hey, you said, she said, whatever kind of
mhm,
stuff that
mhm.
might arise. So those are the challenges. Those are the real challenges. And like I said, also, like I mentioned earlier, staying fit. So having some kind of, you know, physical training to help you get through the next one and the next one. For instance, I've had weddings where I photographed there are 3, 4, 5 days long, continuous Indian weddings, and I believe you helped me in one of them, and a few in the past, and you can say yourself. I mean, you're a testimony about how much beat down, right, your body takes and doing
You take a
those
beating,
type of weddings.
especially on
Yeah.
a 2 or 3 day wedding. Yeah, 12, 14 hours. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's a beat down. So there is quite a bit of challenges that go into it, and also staying on top, on top of your competition, on top of everything that goes with wedding photography to make it a successful business, right? Just like every
Mhm,
other
mhm.
business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jay, what are your thoughts on this?
The real challenges behind the lens. Huh. Um, well, there's you could look at it in a few ways there, but for me, I know, and we go back and forth with camera brands and that, but it was a challenge for me shooting Sony for a while because when I started shooting the A9, it was heating up. So I was actually shooting Nikon and Sony on my hip, and it was a challenge behind the lens, literally, because when the Sony would stop working, I jump over to my Nikon or vice versa. But the Nikon didn't do that.
Mhm,
So that's just one instance where I think, well, yeah, there is a problem behind the lens, that you actually have a physical problem that you have to find a way to say, hey, let's move over here, let's do this while you while you get something else that's going in there. But a lot of times for me, the challenge behind the lens physically, if I'm shooting an area that I've already photographed there for a couple of years already, maybe 2 3 years, it's a little challenging to find a different angle. So it kind of
mhm,
it kind of
mhm,
puts you a little bit. You're behind the lens and you're thinking of like, how do I bring something fresh? Like David is saying, it's like as a creative, you will never ever be happy, content with what you're doing. You want more. You say, "Oh, I got the beautiful shot, but oh, what happens if I do this other one?" So most
mhm,
of the times that you have that thing where, okay, I've already done this. I've been here. How do I, you know, get something a little more different? So that might be a little challenge there. On the flip side, I feel like David, of course. I have to stay active. One of the times here jogging around my neighborhood, one of the neighbors told me why was I always active or whatever, and I said I'm training. He says, what are you training for? I said, oh, I shoot weddings. And he said, oh, you shoot weddings? I said, yeah. I said, is it that? I mean, yeah. I said, it can be. I don't want anybody saying that, hey, well, Jay was pooped at 10 o'clock. He couldn't move. He was tired. He's
mhm,
weak.
mhm,
And so I think it's very important to stay, behind the lens, uh, be whatever you can do that is your own body, that you're focused on that day, and you say, you know what, I'm ready. Any other challenges that will come, because they will come, you can physically kind of go through them. And sometimes you got to stand, sometimes you got to keep smiling. It's been 10 hours, it's been 20, 12 hours.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
For
yeah.
one of my weddings, I started like at 9 o'clock and I finished like at 4 o'clock in the morning the next day. And
Mhm,
um, if like David is saying, like you said, like if you don't love this, you're probably going to think that what, this is not what I want to do, because the allure was so beautiful, but now the reality sets in. And do you really want to do this? It's like, because if you do, you're going to have to train for more of this. You're going to have to expect this at the high side. You're going to have to expect it. You're going to have to go over and beyond. Keep smiling. Keep
mhm,
doing everything you're doing. Look good. You might be tired. You might be sleepy. You might be hungry. You might be dehydrated. But behind the lens, it's just you and whatever gear you have on you. And that's why I always try to bring 2 3 cameras everywhere I go, because you never know. What is the challenge? You never know. There might be no light. There might be super
mhm,
bright, and you have the right camera, the right lens. You might be having to shoot something a little quiet, so you bring out your Sony because it's a real quiet. It's just a thought. I'm just. I know these guys love Sony a lot, but I'm just messing with it for a little
I think one of the things I want to touch in is also it's the emotional toll that also Jay also touched on a little bit. The
mhm,
emotional toll of photographers that we go through,
and it's about balancing ourselves and balancing our professionalism with empathy, and also at home, right? So sometimes I feel, and I think most seasoned vendors or professional vendors out there, I laugh with them and they laugh back at me when I look at them. It's like, this stuff is driving us crazy. You know what I mean? Some of these people,
Mhm.
we kind of, we joke about having a split personality at times, you know, because we try to be always professional in what we do, but then we have to empathize with the people also, you know, and that's where the challenge is at. I think that's a real struggle for me. And then you have home also that we have to balance as well, you know,
Yeah.
and that on its own could be challenging. You know, I think about all the times that I've left on a Saturday where perhaps I was going to miss out on a birthday party,
Yeah.
or on something at home that's very important. And it's times like that that as a wedding photographer you start learning that some battles are worth giving up and saying, I'm sorry. And I'll come out right here and say it. You know, I may say I'm booked for that day, and I'm booked for the most important moments of my life,
There you go.
which is super important. You know, not leaving my son's birthday, not being there for my son's birthday party, that would hurt me, that would break me, that would devastate me. So reserving some days in my calendar for those important uh, parts of my life, that means a lot, that it's also healthy for me in a sense as a
Mhm.
photographer that's behind the camera, to make me continue doing this. Because if I'm not good at home, I am a wedding photographer that's capturing love stories and love moments and all that good stuff. And as a creator and as a documentarian, if I'm not lined up well, correct in my mind, then my performance, I think, will suffer a little bit
Yeah.
while I'm doing this, while I'm
Yeah.
looking for those
Yeah.
precious
Absolutely.
moments. So
Yeah.
that is
And let,
challenging. Go ahead.
I just want to add something real quick on what you touched on, because it's something that a lot of younger photographers, they think I have a lot of work, so they kind of base it on that, right? We're basing it on the fact that, oh, I have a lot of work, but it's not, you know, it's not, it's, we're not looking for a lot of work. We want to do, we want to do some quality, and we want to take some time off to recharge and everything. Exactly what you're saying, but I think that a lot of times we want to, me, when I was younger, I would base it on, well, I have a lot of work. So, people, I'm in demand. Is like, well, maybe my price was too low, to be honest, and people have told me straight out, hey, you know what, we booked you because, you have great work and you're really cheap, So, you don't want to fall in that category. You want to be, like you're saying, behind the lens. You want to be uh, valuable to yourself, like you're saying, valuable to yourself, and then have everything else that accompanies that. Because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, if you have too much work, well, yeah, you're not taking care of, number one, you're not taking care of yourself and your family. Yeah, well said. Yes.
No, absolutely. And, and for me, to reinvent myself at every wedding is the real challenge, because every wedding is the same. It's the same wedding, but it's a different wedding. And I think we can all relate to that. And the challenge for me is, how do I reinvent myself? How do I outdo what I've already done? Don't fall into the same rut. Okay, same poses, same lighting, same location. How to reinvent yourself at every time, to stay fresh, to stay new, to develop your not so much your skills, but to, I guess, develop your passion a little bit further. So always challenging yourself and pushing yourself at a different wedding. To me, that's a challenge, because every wedding typically is the same. I mean, they're different, but they're the same, and you can fall into that creative rut as well. So that's a challenge for me. So, and you know, Jay, you brought up something really, really important that kind of segues into um, our
Next segment.
next topic, and that is the business side of wedding photography. Because you talked about Sony cameras, and yeah, I went down that road a while as well, and I had some issues with
Mhm.
my Sony and the green skin and green color tone, and we can debate about that maybe in
Oh
another
yeah.
live. But you
Mm.
know, buying equipment is expensive, and you know, you look at it, it's an investment, but at the same time, it's a business expense, and you can't be switching equipment every 2 or 3 years just because you don't like something because it is a business expense. And so this is some things that I think a lot of wedding photographers and people who are starting out really don't think about. They don't calculate the actual cost of being a photographer. Most people think, okay, well, I've got a camera, I've got several lenses, I've got a flash, that's it. Okay, well then what about a tripod, light, you know, lighting stands? What are you going to carry it in? You need a bag, you need to carry it.
Yeah,
What about the
of course.
computer? You need a computer. You
Oh
need
yeah.
just
Mhm.
on and on and on, and the expenses really, really add up. So, what are some of the lessons you've learned about the business side? Maybe from the school of hard knocks. How about you, David?
Well, and there's a lot I could touch up on this. Oh man, yeah, like Jay, I need to take a deep breath
Yeah, like
on
yeah,
this.
really.
It's
Mm.
Ed, I think that there is a balance with several things. I like to think it as everything as a balance. So you have what you mentioned, the cost of equipment. You have your cameras, the lenses. I'm a Canon guy, so I don't settle with anything less than the prime lenses or the L lenses, the newest L lenses or the RF lenses for the mirrorless. And those are really expensive. They really are expensive. And that's the person that I've been for many many years. But I invest so much money in my equipment because I want to give my clients the absolute best. Like I don't want it to be a camera resolution issue. I don't want it to be a lens issue. I don't want it to be a computer issue or editing program issue ever for that. Those are just excuses that your clients don't want to hear, right? So if I want to be top notch, I believe in having the top notch equipment, and that's just something very personal that I feel strong about. Now, having said that, the balance comes in where I'm going to invest all this time in also building myself as a photographer and equipment. Then my pricing, it has to be up there as well. There's just I feel that in this world there's for everyone and in different scales and different levels. Therefore, I tend to go and work more with the higher end clients opposed to people that are just price shopping. There are just wanting the best price possible at the very bottom, or challenging themselves to see who would give them the best. The lowest price, not even the best price, because best price and lowest price are two different things, right?
Mhm.
So best price could be something like my best price could be $5,000, $10,000, but for the value that they're getting, that's the best price, right? That's
Mhm.
how I define the best price. And then there's people that just want the lowest price. That's not something that I go after, or that I am, I'll put myself or align myself with photographers that are charging that. Like I said, there's levels for everyone. There's the sun comes out for everyone. So and unfortunately, because of that, I've lost quite a bit of clients. And sometimes it all starts off with the initial call. I could already scan them. Like over the years, I already know where they're going with it and stuff like that. So uh, the business side of photography, there's a lot to be learned. I think that I'm still learning from it, and a lot of that side, the business side of photography, I actually learned it firsthand from my clients. First clients, those are the ones that feed me the ideas and also feed me the questions. They feed me the answers to the questions that they're looking for, and that is important. For
It's a
me,
good point.
I actually jot down everything that they're asking. I call it the common denominator, right? What are the biggest questions they're looking for? And they're coming to us because I like to think of it that they have a problem, or they might feel like they have. We are the solution makers. We have the solution for them. We are the experts at the end of the day, So by having the right answers for our clients and giving them that information, it is also very, very important for them to have as a business person. Um, the other side of business photography is staying on top and having a presence, especially in today's world. Whether you have a presence on any of these social media channels or platforms that you like, or perhaps it's a few, it is important to having yourself out there and having that presence, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or even what Facebook or whatever channel works for you. And I say that because you may think, well, all of them should work. Well, I think that every social media platform pulls a certain audience. So the
Mhm.
audience that sits in Facebook is not the same audience you'll find in TikTok or in
That's
Instagram.
true.
So I think that in that end is very, very important to continue to put yourself out there in front of people, so you can be in their line of sight, and they can, if they think photography, wedding photography, they're going to find you. So I think in the business side of it, those are the two most things, most important. One being selling yourself consistently. There's no business without selling yourself. If you're not selling yourself, it doesn't matter what business you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing in this world. If you're not selling yourself first, this whole
Mhm,
passion
mhm.
thing, oh, I'm doing it for the passion, I'm doing it for this, for the money, I'm doing it for whatever you're doing it for, first and foremost has to be for selling your service or your
Well,
product. That's
that's
it.
the point, because you are the brand.
Right.
You are the brand. It's David Pizzat. It's Jay Caballero. It's Eddie Gonzalez. It's our own particular brand. So if you're not pushing your brand, who's going to push it for you? Right?
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
yeah,
And a
Well,
lot of guys that come out and do this, or they start jumping, they jump on it. Oh, because I have the newest Canon or the newest Sony or whatever it is, the newest Fuji, and I'm going to try it. I'm going to start. Whenever you start taking pictures and do an exchange for money, that is business. Period. Done. Do, do not pretend you're not doing business. You are doing business. Okay. And if that's something you want to continue, you want to do, then I think I highly suggest that you put a value to what you're doing, and capitalize from that and keep growing on that.
absolutely, absolutely. Appreciate that. How about you, Jay? What you want to weigh in on this?
yeah. I got a couple things to say on that, me too. But I guess it kind of goes back to alluring, right? Because think about what David was saying there, and that's very true. I mean, uh, I for myself, I also think I've shot all the Nikon bodies, DSLR, all the pro bodies. I like the big old heavy bricks because they could shoot 2, 3 weddings in a row, and they don't run out of battery. They're beautiful. You can throw them around, nothing's going to happen to them. But after investing this amount of time and effort and money to learn it and to pick it up and have the latest gear, then you come into the arena that now you don't want to. Now people don't want to pay you for that, and you're like, but I have everything, and I've been here and I know how to do this. So that's the business side. Yeah, you put something in. It's not like you're investing because you're not getting anything back. Maybe, like David was saying, if you invest on the best gear in the world, but you don't have the job, it's like, well, who cares? You're out in the dark, you're out in the cold, and you you just have your your gear for playing around, and you have a lot of passion of taking pictures of whatever you want, but those things are not paying you. So it's kind of like a starving artist kind of idea, right? Because you can have everything, but if you don't market it right, or if you're not in with the right people, you don't have a good client relation, then they will not recommend you. So all these little things that happen, kind of like behind the lens, it's also like part of the business side that I think is the hardest thing to master, the hardest thing to um, I get to get over, right? Because anybody starting now can take a nice good leap, but the medal or the trophy, right, or if you want to call it that, it's going to go to whoever stays there the longer, right? I always feel that for myself, when I was a little bit younger in photography, I would like mentally, I would say, man, dude, I'm better than this guy. I'm better than that guy, and I didn't understand the business side. It's like, yes, maybe I am, maybe to some people, but this business has been around. This business understands what the client is looking for, has good relations with them, and that is strengthening the business. Any little thing that you do in social media or in person, you send something out, send images to your clients or some prints, anything that you do, that's for your business side. So yeah, it is a little, again, we can go back to the allure here, you've been allured, but then you got to spend all of this money. And it's so hard, like that we're saying about changing brands, I'm guilty. I'm number one guilty. I mean, I've shot everything. I've shot
Too,
probably
man.
Canon a little bit less. I shot Fuji. I shot Sony twice. I went back and forth. I've always kept Nikon, though. I've always kept Nikon. I think I'm a Nikon guy. They do make cameras still, just a few, but
They
they're
do?
nice. They do.
Good to know. Good to know.
But that's like a topic for another day. There's so much there. But yeah, that's basically the business side. Is that you're going to invest a lot of time, effort, money, and then they're going to tell you there's somebody cheaper, and that's when you have to get creative, away from the lens, put the camera down, and now you got to put on a different hat and do another job that you didn't know you had to do. You thought you just had to be good with just photography, but nobody knows of you, and you have to keep working hard to turn the wheel, turn to next year, and the year after that, and then you start getting a little traction. And if you do want to do this, it is something that will take a while. But if you find good people that are willing to help you, or you find a good system that marketing strategy, anything you find, kind of, if it works for you, I think that's something you want to hold on to there, for
No,
sure.
absolutely. Because no one really teaches you that. It's like networking skills. Who would have thought a professional photographer is going to need networking skills? They're going to need to know how to develop personal relationships, your personal relationships with other vendors, your personal relationships with your clients, even the client's family at the wedding. If you develop good relationships with the guests, they're
Yep.
going to refer you to down the road to another client.
Another
So,
photographer. I mean, another,
or
yeah. Another.
hopefully not another photographer. Yeah, uh, but all of that is so important. So important. And in the digital age, search engine optimization. You'll never find that in a photography or learning photography book, but it is so valuable and so critical.
Very
And I have a
true.
question in the chat from one of our viewers, and it says, "What equipment is the best?" And to me, the answer to that is very
um,
simple, and that's the equipment that you have.
that's all
Because
there
if
is
you
to it.
cannot utilize what you have, it's of no good to you or anybody else. So, um, what would you
You know,
add to that?
I'm going to jump in real quick on that equipment
Go for
thing,
it.
and I also want to touch up on if you want to jot this down, so when I get back, Ed. But I'm going to talk about the financial uncertainties that
Go ahead.
wedding photographers go through. But I'll go ahead and answer the question about the gear. I always been a Canon guy since I got started. I think the first, even before that, as far as the digital cameras, when the digital first cameras came out, like with Canon, I jumped on like what I think it was the 10D and then the 20D and stuff like that. And I'm not talking about the crop factors, crop sensors. I'm talking about the very, very first Canon cameras. That's about the time that I jump on. Before that, I would lie if I was a Canon guy when I was in analog. Analog, I was playing around with the Minotas, the K1000s, the golly, Rebel is one of the cameras that I started with, the Canon. So I played with other cameras, even Nikon. But a few years ago, right before COVID, I had 4 systems, and I still have. Actually, sorry guys, but I out of the 4 systems, the first one that had to go was the Nikon gear. So I got rid of that. I did have Sony, I did have Fuji, and I did have Canon. And Canon is my go-to camera, my go-to system to go to. Just because I didn't find any movement going on with Nikon lately, I decided to drop it and sell everything, and I invested more into Canon. I cannot say that Canon is the camera to go to because, like Ed, like you said, at the end of the day is what you can do with the camera. There's so much megapixels, there's so much resolution that you even need for even printing an album, or a canvas, a 16 by 20 or 20 by 30 or whatever standard size that you're looking at for weddings. What would you say, Jay? You can perfectly fine with a 18, 20 megapixel camera. You can
Yeah,
still do all that. I mean,
these
you have some
are
nice backgrounds
yeah,
back there.
yeah, these are
Portraits.
20s here. Yeah, these are 12 megs.
Oh, wow.
They're 30 by 40s, 12 megs. The one in the middle is from a D850, so that's a 42, but it was cropped down in either case. It's just a gimmick, think about all the gear that we've ran across in our lifetime. Everything has a positive and everything has a negative. They were not giving us a perfect camera. We talked about this off camera. We're thinking, why can Canon, I think you two would agree, have more dynamic range? It dies, right? It dies. If you shoot a Nikon, you know that it's night and day. I have dynamic range, but why is my focus so bad? If I had DSLRs, and they were so great, why is the mirrorless focus on Nikon bad? Why is Sony green? It's like, it's the same sensor for Nikon. It's like, and it's just, the most affordable car is the one you're driving. And if you have gear or if you want to get started, my only suggestion is just save up for the real lens you want. Don't get the one in the bottom because you're gonna have to sell it for half price and then come back and buy the other one. So if you're serious about it, just do your homework and depending on what kind of shooter you are, obviously if you're gonna shoot weddings, the Nikon can recover a lot. And I'm not saying that because I'm a real bad shooter, but but you can recover a lot from the light and dark. Ed knows because he shot weddings for that. On the other side, I shot the A9s for years and years. A lot better color than the entry level Sonys. The Fujis, I love the colors, but they break up for my taste, for my work. They're a little bit, hit and miss. But every gear has its strength. Every gear has its strength. There's great photographers using all kinds of gear. There's great photographers using iPhones. So it's maybe you shouldn't focus on gear or brand or anything. It just says how much do you have? How much are you going to bring to this gear that is going to make it functional and it's going to make it work? It has some limitations, but you understand it. You're going to shoot a Fuji. You're going to shoot a wedding. It's going to be hard, but you're going to have some fast lens. Ed, you can do it because I've done it. You can do it. Yeah, you're gonna be feeling a little bit here and there. You might struggle with the autofocus. If you jump on a Canon, you will not have problems with autofocus. I know it. I know that because I do. And my Nikon system, even the Z8 and the Z9s, they're still not where I think they should be. But,
and let me be clear on what I was saying as far as gear. I guess I didn't get to finish, but the reason why I'm with Canon is because I have done that investment, till now. So I did an investment initially And it was once I was knee deep, or waist deep, I there it was hard for me to even look at other systems. You know what I mean? Luckily, Canon, and it always feels like Canon takes a while to catch up with the competitors. For some reason, they're kind of always the last ones to come up. And so I feel it always has been like, Sony, and then Nikon, and then but when Canon does come out, they do come out with something really amazing. I'm really impressed with the R the mirrorless that's been coming out, the RF lenses. They're just super intact and amazing and all that good stuff. But again, what I just want to clarify here, I use Canon, but I feel like if I would have started with maybe a Fuji, or Sony, I probably would have been with Sony, because what I did there for a while was that, about 3 years ago, turned in, I had about 2 or 3 bags, camera bags of lenses, L lenses. They were amazing and all this stuff. But in order for me to move up and to shift to the new gear with mirrorless, I had to go to the camera store and sell everything, my older stuff. And
Mhm.
that didn't hurt me too much in my pocket to jump into the newer RF lenses, which are possibly, at times, they're twice as much as what I purchased the L lenses for. But it's almost like getting a big discount, because I'm turning in some used equipment. I'm able to get some good stuff, so the newer stuff. So that's, to make that clear. That's why I've stuck to Canon. Besides, also Canon, when I first started with Canon, I felt that their colors were more shifted towards the reds and greens for some reason, at least the first couple cameras. And for me, those kind of little bit of reds and magentas kind of played well with skin tone for some reason. Those yellowish kind of, tints that they
Mhm.
might have had at the very first cameras, they actually work really well, and especially in the lower ISOs. I think in the higher ISOs is when I've really found issues with the Canons as far as that. Which then you think back, like Sony with the high ISOs. I hear, and what I played with, a little bit of what I played with, those ISOs on Sony's are amazing. So there's catches, there's good things, and there's negatives and positives on all cameras and all systems. But it's how you play your camera, how you work your camera in every scenario, and sometimes it's all about, it's less has to do with the camera body, and it has more to do with lighting, believe it or not. you know
Absolutely, and that's what I was gonna say, because I played with them all. I started with Canon back in the early 2000s, and then I jumped on the, Nikon bandwagon, from Nikon to Sony, from Sony to Fuji,
Back to
Fuji
Sony.
back to Sony, and then Sony back
I
to
mean,
Canon. And now I'm here at Canon again. Okay, all
so,
of
so
this
you're
is
like, what?
Canon
You're like,
without
what am
trying
I
to
shooting? What am I shooting?
like, like you're in Moscow, and then Texas, Moscow, Texas, Texas,
what
Moscow.
can I say, all right? But I'll tell
But
you one thing, it's like with the Nikon, yeah, man, you've got wide dynamic range, so you can, you're 2 stops under, you can pull it back, no big deal. You can kind of blow the highlights, bring them down a little bit. And then with Canon, you have a little bit less dynamic range, so you're going to have to kind of equalize the light a little bit. So you got to bring in lighting, or you're going to have to subtract light. In other words, you're going to have to your skills going to have to match the capabilities of the camera. So that kind of like leads into the next topic that we want to talk about, and that's technical expertise and how well we actually produce an image. And also going back to the business side of photography, one of the most important investments you can make as a photographer is in yourself. And this is in attending, well, back in our day, we attended seminars in person, right?
right.
Because we didn't have the internet. So we would go to seminars, workshops, or in the early days of YouTube, you would kind of like catch some videos and things like this. And it's very important that you learn and hone your skills. And what are some of the things that you did, Jay and David, to learn your skills of photography? Or did you just learn as you go, or did you invest in some of that education?
Right. Ed, before I go on and answer this, also, I feel like I'm behind. I was going to
Go
touch
ahead.
up
Go
real
ahead.
quick on the financial aspects or the financial uncertainties of being a wedding photographer. I think this is huge. This is really important. And guys, if you're thinking of getting into wedding photography, I want you to know something. I guess I could call it the squirrel effect. um, wedding photography is very much seasonal at times. It's not year round. Let me just tell you that, guys. If you plan to make a living off of that, you know, you have to learn how to manage your money as well. You know, and that's super important. You know, there's times, seasons, which is like the this time of year, which is we're in February, when it starts in January, all the way down to about May. This is the right time that you need to be going out there and promoting yourself and putting yourself out there more than any time of the year, because this is where it's the beginning of of people that are doing their beginning of their planning, of their wedding
Mhm,
planning.
mhm.
So you know, they just got engaged through Thanksgiving Day, they got engaged on Christmas Day, they got engaged on New Year's, which is a big one, and they might be even getting engaged here in the next week, which is also Valentine's Day. So these are very crucial, very important dates that you need to be following even on your calendar, because this is where you start seeing a lot of people looking for vendors like ourselves. And so the next coming years, the next coming months, this is where people are going to start looking for photographers and all kinds of
So
other
what
vendors.
you're saying is that because it's seasonal and knowing when people tend to get engaged, then you can time your marketing to help
Marketing.
bring some of those clients to you, even though you may not be photographing at that time, you're still working, you're still marketing. Is that
Right.
what you is that
Yes,
what you're
that's
saying?
exactly where I'm going with that. And also allocating your money, you know, because it's not going to be year round. So you better have some money put away for the next turn of the year to market yourself. You know what I mean? If not,
Mhm.
you're going to be in trouble. But I also wanted to just touch on that and let everyone know that this is something that you have to play the smart game, you know, with your money, because like I said, in some cases you will see the tidal wave of work and the money coming in through weddings, and then you'll see the slow season as well.
That's true. That's very, very true. And so what about this technical side? I mean, if you're already at the point that you want to be a wedding photographer or a professional, you want to start to charge money for this, then that kind of assumes that you're already at a certain level of skill, maybe a certain level of expertise. Um, when you started, though, did you prepare yourself, or you just said, you know what, I've got a camera, I think I know how to take pictures, I'm just going to go for it? Or did you spend some time preparing yourself before you hung up your sign and said, hey, I'm a professional wedding photographer? What about you, Jay?
Okay. Well, I don't have any technical expertise. No, no.
We still
It's a
don't.
great. Yeah, it's I guess if you kind of see it as the in the way of you're a student of the game, you're always learning, but you do have some kind of foundation. Especially like maybe with us, we started with film, and we understand that with film you have to be more critical, more precise. It wasn't as forgiving. You forget to roll film, and you don't have anything. Something in that arena. But for sure, I think. Let me see. If we're advising somebody that's going to start a wedding, I think a good idea would be to maybe shadow somebody, go to be a second shooter, uh, take on that kind of mentality that maybe take it kind of slow, make sure that you understand your camera gear, what we were talking about, previous. Really get to hone in, read your manual, understand the limitations of the camera, your ISO, how much you can push it, that kind of thing, and then maybe start, upping that. Any system, like David was saying, like I could tell you, any system that you learn will always have favor on your side. So the technical side of that is always a great thing because you're never going to be able to go wrong. If there's an update in your camera, firmware, whatever, you have a couple of things that are extra, but most of them. I think all of these things help because, as a photographer that shoots weddings, you're going to have to go from something very low lit to something very bright lit within, within seconds, within a minute or two. You have to adjust on the fly, and you have to understand exactly what your camera is capable of doing and how to get the best image. Besides having the connection and that know-how that people tell you, hey, what do you want us to do? It's like, well, I want you guys coming out of here, but it's going to be a little bit, you gotta go slow because we're going to do this. And the expertise is always something that it's a very big part of I guess throughout the years, a very big part of who makes what makes you as a photographer is how much expertise you have. Now, like for example, between us three, like I've always thought that Ed was a more technical guy. He knows more about the cameras. He reads more into them. I have maybe more user, me and Dave maybe, but he's very technical. Like Ed is somebody that is very focused, and you ask him a question or you suggest something. Oh no, you can't do that with this, but you can do it with this other system. And I think that's just a master. When it comes to it, it's like, dude, this guy doesn't just know Canon. This guy knows Nikon. This guy knows Sony. This guy knows Fuji. Like you can ask him, and he'd be like, dude, yeah,
You're
yeah,
too kind, man. You're too kind.
yeah. So that technical expertise is just, and you get to that point, like we're saying right now, it's like, why can't they make a camera that has everything? Why it's just the name of the game is just no one car is perfect. Everything has a flaw, has a different use. A truck, you use it to haul something big, and a little car you use it just to go to work. And for me, technically, I would always use. For many years, I shot the Sony and the Nikon. I always shoot with two camera bodies on my hip, so I would shoot the Sony for a quiet, silent shutter, no lag, just no blackout. It's just beautiful. But when I wanted to get something more, I guess, posed or something more dynamic, then I'll bring out my Nikon from the other side of my hip, and But yeah, definitely technical expertise is something that it's going to be a big arsenal in your weaponry, right? In your in your strength. Once you have that with you, then you can always relate that to the next upgrade of camera, or even if you're moving into another system, you want to find out how that is on that new system. So yeah, definitely technical expertise is something that you want to hone in as much as you can, and never stop learning. Always keep going, even though if it's a little bit, but don't look back.
Always push. Always push.
Yeah.
Dave, what about you? How did you start?
Well, I think there's two parts, at least for me. It's the mastering the equipment, right? Mastering the equipment is super important. Sometimes we get caught up in the newest lens, the newest camera, and stuff like that, but we never really get to master it, right? So I think for me, I remember getting my first 50, and I played with it for a long time. And I think what really caught my eye or intrigued me was that the 50 acts a lot like the human eye, right? So it's like I'm going around, and what I was able to see, I could capture it right on my lens, and that for me that was pretty cool. And I was able to play with a different this focusing distance on it. And then I moved on to the next one and the next one. But the one of the most important pieces of equipment besides your lenses is your camera. Knowing your camera on the fly, knowing your camera inside out, knowing where all the buttons and the functionalities are at. And maybe perhaps that's another reason why I stuck with Canon so long, because I got familiar with Canon, and Canon has a very friendly user face, which makes it easier. And that's the last thing I want to be doing, challenging myself, trying to find where the buttons and the functionality of other cameras, where they're at. So I guess that's what makes me loyal to Canon because I invested so much time and equipment on it. Now, the other aspect of the technical expertise is also the creative problem solving, right?
Mhm.
That right there for me has been huge. I like to think of myself as a photographic artist. So figuring out things in a creative sense that I'm able to capture something that it's going to work. And and sometimes it's all about playing with lighting or refractions, or adding, subtracting the with the what's on the background and the foreground and stuff like that. All those elements that compose a interesting composition is what I find important. And so those are the creative problem solvings that I go through, making sure that I'm also able to pull off what I have in mind in my vision.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
sometimes we think about it, we're like, oh, what if what if I could do this? Picture this with that, or whatever, this lighting, or this bride walking up the stairs and the guy's looking up at her, or whatever it is, but with that light shining on her face, or with capturing that beautiful emotion. Those are the things that we can visualize, you can dream about all day long, but putting it down to pencil, for say, as a metaphor, or putting it down on a photograph is a little different, right? And that's when it
Mhm.
becomes a little challenging. And I think those are technical aspects or technical expertise that we learn over the years, and we know that those are huge and important.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that brings us up to our next topic. And that's the rewards of wedding photography. Are there any rewards? I mean, awards, rewards,
Well, there's
money,
always cake. There's always cake. I
fame,
mean,
glory.
And you
What
get
there's
is
to
it?
always
dance.
cake.
And if you want to dance, you could always dance
Yeah,
there.
there's
You can
always
always
cake
dance, sure.
at the end. I mean, that's a given. I mean, you show up and you see the cake. You're like, okay, well, there's cake.
And you meet a lot
There's
of friends
cake and
towards the
there's
end of
usually
the night,
food, right? So we're
Yeah.
good.
No, no, no. It's there's definitely is a lot of rewards. I don't know if Dave wants to take it or.
Well, I'll touch up real quick. I think the biggest rewards is making lifelong friends, right? After every wedding, I feel like I've had some clients that have become like family. They still check up on me, as funny as that
Mhm.
sounds. Or they ask me if I can now photograph their newborn or their maternity session and stuff like that. So we build a beautiful relationship. In many cases, I am having to go back, and I get rehired, and it's something that I don't usually promote, the maternity sessions or the baby photo sessions or the family portrait sessions, because that is something that I kind of leave it for my clients. For instance, I've always thought that I am their photographer for their new beginning, and I will be their photographer for life, right? Something that we talked about. And it's like having a family doctor, you're always there for them. And that is something very beautiful and very rewarding when they think of you and they keep coming back to
Mhm.
do other milestones, events, or other things in their lives, and the new chapters in their lives. So for me, that is very rewarding. Also, the fact that I go into these people's homes and they still have that beautiful portrait that you created with all your creativity and all your might and all your effort and everything to make that awesome portrait happen. And I think also getting a little bit of that, hey, David, my family came into town and saw my portraits, my wedding portrait, and they loved it. And it's like the centerpiece of their home.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
piece of art. Sometimes I've seen clients actually take off, what used to be a painting, a landscape, or a printed whatever, and they take that off and they put their wedding portrait because they find that more valuable than anything else in their home or their centerpiece. So for me, that is awesome. And knowing that I could leave that legacy behind through my clients, that is something that feels so good. And like I said, in building those relationships that last a lifetime, and people, and you can hear it on the reviews also. But that's what I find very rewarding. I would say also, just photography. Photography has been a lifesaver for me, also in the sense that when I was younger, I was going through a lot, and I was able to pick up a camera just like painter would pick up a stencil or a brush and something, and I was able to express what I felt, by
Mhm.
capturing what I enjoyed looking at. And I think that also weddings, you can't go wrong with weddings. They're always a happy ending, right? They're always cheerful, and
They're
you even
always
feel
joyful,
good
right?
being part of that. And it's a big milestone. There's a new chapter in their lives, and for you to be part of that, it's like a huge honor, right? To
It
be,
is.
especially in those, you know, when you're there capturing their love, you have that opportunity. You're privileged in the sense to be there and to be part of that. That's super amazing, to capture all of that. So yeah, that's what I find very rewarding.
It's rewarding for me because to know that my photographs will be part of their not only history and legacy, but of their future. Because who's going to see those photographs? Their children, grandchildren, maybe, hopefully. So it's very rewarding because you're leaving a mark, so to speak, on somebody's most treasured day. So
Mhm.
I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And
What say you, Jay?
I'm gonna
I'm
step
sorry,
in
Jay.
real
Go
quick.
ahead.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna step in real quick that I found about wedding photographers is that sometimes a lot of wedding photographers, this is their livelihood. This is what they'll die doing. They're very loyal, and I think it has to do with these rewards that you get in return. You know, I have met several photographers that are in their 80s, 90s. There are still shooting, whether if it's passively or they're shooting it once in a while. And they have their home is turned upside down with cameras, like you can see back here, with
Mhm.
lenses and stuff like that. And it's like their badge of honors. It's like their trophies or awards or whatever. Those pictures that they have up on their wall, or they have on their files and stuff, like on the computer. Those are little nuggets for them, that it's like hanging up an award. Like, man, I got this picture. And it's amazing, man. It's beautiful. And the people hold on to that stuff, and then they don't leave that passion. That passion stays with them for the rest of their lives. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Just want to make an announcement, guys. If you're watching this video after the live, please down in the comments write down where you're watching from, and are you now a wedding photographer or maybe a future wedding photographer? Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Jay, what have you got to say about this?
Oh man. Well, sometimes I get paid. No, no,
In
no, no. Of
food or in
course,
money?
man. The one of the perks is, of course, you get to do something that you love to do, that you've enjoyed, and that it's just like a second nature. You just love picking up a camera and going. In a couple of occasions, David was in town or whatever, and he asked me, "Hey, man, I got a wedding." I'm like, "Hey, boy, man, I'm there, bro. I'm there because I'm gonna go shoot. I love shooting weddings.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
I think the reward at the actual wedding for me is it's beautiful, right? Because you get reminded of the love, the connection between the couple, right? And I, as a married man, I find that very refreshing, right? Just like a nice little refresher, and I get to see the whole wedding day, the way it unfolds, the thoughts people have, the ideas they bring to life, their own little. You were saying earlier about how the weddings are the same, but this is how they make them different. They got a little bit of something in the air, a little bit of something that they've added, and they're very happy about that. Hey, you know what? We have this, and what do you think, Jay? Like, yeah, yeah, sure. That's going to be beautiful. Um, I've also met, some beautiful couples that they send us pictures of their kids, and because they moved away or whatever, and we're just really nicely connected to them, bonded because of that time we spent together, that immortalization of their images. in another scenario, like I've met a few lawyers that became friends of mine, and it's so big for me that I can just pick up the phone and say, bro, text me, and I can just text him, ask him, and it's a big help for us that are
Personal
self-employed.
relationships, right? And
Yeah,
just
it's opened the door because obviously they think so much different than us, but in either case, I think there's a little drawback on rewards, especially for me personally, because as I start shooting weddings, and people are like, oh yeah, because Jay said, we're gonna go here, or he wants to go to Houston, and there's a place. I went, pues ahí vamos, y pues dijo Jay, dijo Jay. So I find that like a little rewarding, as for me, but then when I get home, I tell my kids something, and I said, no, but you tell him, Jay dijo, it doesn't work at the house, So
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So I don't, it's a little different because I do get, I think as a photographer, you start feeling your place, and then you start thinking like, this is my reward, Jay said we're gonna move this. Jay said we're gonna do that, and whatever Jay said, like, okay, yeah. You get home, you're like, hey, wait a minute, But it's just my 2 cents, right? But it's beautiful that we can have a reward that is unmeasurable almost, right? Because what I feel is a reward is I get paid, but then I get to keep these images that as a photographer, right? As a photographer, this is you, man. This is you get to say this is what I shot. Those people know me, man. They had a beautiful, lovely story. I did their engagement, I did their bridal. In some cases, like they said, yeah, maybe the firstborn or something. But it's something that when it comes to images, I'm a pack rat with photography. Like I have all the raw images I've shot. For some reason, I have them, I love them, and sometimes I go back in there and say, oh yeah, this, and I'll post something because I said, oh yeah, and I have a new look I want to give to it or whatever. But it's always very rewarding to keep those images, those rewards that you couldn't express if you're not a photographer. You guys will understand. It's like, dude, this is my wedding, man. I smashed this one, dude. It was beautiful, man. Everything came in play. The sunset was beautiful.
had gigs and
Everything.
gigs of hard
Yeah.
drive and storage. Yeah.
Boom. It's like you love it because this is your reward. At the end of the day, your money's gone. You already bought more lenses. You switch camera gears, whatever. But you have the reward of saying, bro, man, this was an awesome, gorgeous, man. This couple was just magic. It's just you put them in a location and they just they're just beautiful, man. They love each other, and it's such a big reminder, and it's such a beautiful thing that you can archive that and have it, and you'd be like, wow, man, that's a really big reward. But yeah, everything on the wedding day should remind us of, like David was saying, of that love that we have towards each other, right? Uh, even for me shooting a wedding like with Dave, or I know when my aunt passed away and I shot a wedding with him, it was very memorable. And with Ed, I mean, I shot so many things with Ed. Is like that dude. We come back from the wedding and we're talking. You got to go to Whataburger. You got to go to Whataburger. Get
Gotta
your
do the
number 5 all the
Whataburger.
way. With just everything. It's a recovery meal, man. We just shot
If
10
you're not
hours, man.
if you're not from Texas or you're not from an area where there's a Whataburger, you won't understand this.
You
But
would not get it. It's open and it's got the W for the win for the wedding, and it's Whataburger. And
again,
you
at the
drive up.
wedding, it's
They already know
Whataburger.
you. They're like, dude, these are the wedding photos. Get the 5s out. They bring out the 5s.
They know you're
I
coming
mean,
every Saturday night.
Hey,
every Saturday about 1 o'clock, más o
number
menos,
2
they
for
kind of tantear you. But it's a beautiful thing, you get that reward at the end of the night, it's like it's a given, you come shoot with a wedding photographer and you're in South Texas. It's like, dude, you got to go to Whataburger. That's like the least you
That's
can
the
have is like, dude, you get
reward.
you get your little reward there at the end. You get to keep those beautiful images. You get to be reminded of how beautiful something when it starts is so beautiful, and just kind of cherish what you have with your own spouse, with your own couple, So
You
yeah,
know,
those are things that are very beautiful, man.
appreciate that, Jay. And one of
Yes,
the
sir.
rewards for me is, I spent many, many years second shooting with either one of both of you. And how many times did, I walk into a wedding, I've never met the bride, never met the groom. I ask you for their names. Sometimes you know their names, sometimes you don't. But I'll walk in there kind of blind. And on the fly, I have to establish a rapport with these people because I'm going to be in their most intimate moments in about 5 minutes. And to leave the wedding, sometimes you establish such a rapport and such a relationship with this couple that, and even the family, that you feel like family when you're walking out. You're tired, you spent 12 hours at this wedding, you gave it your all. It was a wonderful, beautiful wedding, beautiful couple, and you feel like your family. To me, that is such a high. And then Whataburger for the win. I mean, who can top that? You know
You
what I'm
can't go
saying?
wrong, man. It's like
Yeah, no, man, that's great. That's great. Hey, I got
sometimes
a
I go to the
question here.
wedding just to get the Whataburger sometimes, man. Like,
Oh, man. The wedding cake. You got to have a taste of the wedding cake.
why
Hey,
not,
man, I have
dude?
a question here in the live chat. If you could describe wedding photography in one word, what would it be? Dave.
God, that's a very good question. If I could describe it in one word, um, passion. You know, you have to have passion for this. Uh, that's one word that I could describe it, because if you don't have passion, if you don't have the love for it, if you don't have the patience for it, uh, you're not going to get far. A lot of people do it for the wrong reasons. You have to be passionate about what you're doing day in, day out. And that's what I have to say on that.
Very, very well said. How about you, Jay?
Uh, one word that would describe wedding photography. It's just for me would be I don't know, man. I would say it's grit. Grit. Like just hustle, work. Uh, you have to put it in. You might be in a situation in a wedding where not your bride wants this elegant look, but the environment is not as elegant. So you're gonna have to work. Yeah, and I would say grit.
Hmm.
Just yeah, it would have to be grit, man.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough question for me because I'm kind of pulled in a lot of different directions. But for me, it comes down to love and being surrounded by love. You've got family, friends, they're all together and they're all supporting this couple that's getting married. And so there is so much love. I mean, it just raises your mood. It just elevates you to a level where you can perform your best. And to me, this is, like I said, such a high. So to me, if I had to describe wedding photography in one word, it would be love.
Love.
So that's it for me, man. So, guys, kind of headed toward wrapping this live stream up. Let's talk about building a successful wedding photography business. I mean, how does that even happen? What does that even look like as a successful wedding photography?
I'll let Jake take this one. Jay, if you want to get started on this one.
But I don't know anything. I mean, uh, now, I guess we can start with like what we're saying earlier about what as a newbie, I would, how do you say, I would measure my success on the amount of weddings that I had, right? And that was the way I would, just like anyone else, but successful, success, I guess, means different things to different people. I wanted to have the time, what the allurement was, the way I got allured is like, hey, I'm going to work weekends. I'll edit during the week. I'll do something else. And that's what I wanted. So if you're doing that and you're being successful, then I think that is, that is what, a business that's, if you're doing what you set out to do, then you would be, yeah, you're a successful wedding photographer. Now, it's not as easy as just saying that, but of course, you would have to maybe, wait, depending again on success, right? Because maybe you want to be successful for a year or two, I don't know. But if you want to be long-term success, like if you want to, be 20 years in or something and say, you know what, I still love shooting. I will still shoot a wedding. I do other things, but I love shooting weddings. Then that's going to be a little bit harder. Uh, throughout the throughout my career being a wedding photographer, I've met so many interesting photographers. Some of them from different walks of life, and um, I've talked to many of them about the importance of of taking it as a boxing match. Like when you go up against a champion, you might come out swinging the first, first, second round, third round. You want to get that knockout, but the champion is always waiting for you to miss something or for you to get tired, and then he's going to knock you out. So the analogy is because sometimes we think we're successful because we're doing a lot, and maybe we're just kind of spinning the wheels in the mud. So the success should have to be something that you set out to do, not because just because you're working means that you're doing the right thing. I know that I read somewhere that for most people that work 8 to 5, really the time they spend working is about 1.5 to 2 hours. The rest is just they're just sitting around, waiting. So I figured in photography, and when you're self-employed in this manner, there's nobody watching over you. So you really have to focus. You really have to have that partner, that person that you can kick around ideas. I know for us, like me and David and Eddie, we've bounced ideas off, or tell each other, hey man, that shot was a little weird or whatever, or you got this shot that was awesome. It was really different. But as far as building, it's going to take a while if you really want to have a long career. If you just want to make some money, well, it's going to be hard because everything that you build today you can stand on for tomorrow. So you kind of have to balance that, and depending on again how long you want to keep doing this. But if you want to make this a career, then yeah, there's many ways that you're going to have to promote yourself. There's many ways you're going to have to go out and knock on some doors maybe. But that is something that it's always evolving, always changing. So the best thing is to have your plan of what you think your success looks like, and then do your best to try to get there.
Very well said, Jay. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
That was good. Well, I think it's important to have to foster and nurture your relationships, with your clients and everyone around you. It's all about networking, also. I think having a positive attitude going into this business. How many times that, having said that, how many times that I've gotten work over another photographer just because that other photographer felt like he was like superior or so much of an artist that he was the only one that called the shots and stuff like that. And it's not about that. It's about having a good relationship and a good positive personality. A lot of it, wedding photography, being a wedding photographer, I'm sorry, it's about having being a people person. And what that means is a person that is willing to work with other people, to make good business. And that's super duper duper important. You got to be a people person, like I was mentioning before, and keep that professionalism at all times. Showing up to weddings half dressed, or not, in tennies, or maybe not dressed appropriate for the wedding. That's going to hurt you. So those are the things that we got to look out for when being a wedding photographer. The other thing, going back to the relationships are super important, because that's what brings us continues to brings us business. I live 4 hours away in the Rio Grande Valley. Now I'm here in San Antonio, and I keep getting business back in the Rio Grande Valley, which is super important, because I've nurtured I've fostered those relationships over the years, and they keep calling me back, and whether it's now their sister getting married, or now the
Mhm.
cousin getting married and stuff like that. So and nothing beats, even in today's world, nothing beats word of mouth, still. And there's no other type of advertising that's greater than word of mouth. So I think it's super important to also continue and staying on top with your clients, and even sending them an email or a message once in a while, and just checking in with them. Hey, you never know when they might be thinking, hey, you know what, we're planning our next party or next, wedding or event or whatever, portrait session, so being in the line of sight of them, it's always super important. But yeah, I think that's important.
Appreciate that, David.
Mhm.
Well, guys, we are headed to about, we're right at an hour and a half on our live.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think we've had a very, very successful live session. And I think we're just going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Any
Mhm.
last minute remarks you would like to make? We'll start with you, Jay.
Uh, no, I mean, the only thing is, if you do really want to be a wedding photographer, and just, I guess, just kind of go over this video and reach out to, another photographer in your area, maybe sit down with them and see how long it's taken them. Uh, a lot of times the pricing is the hardest thing uh, to come up with, or to set a price
Mhm.
on your work. And I think that's like, people like David, they can kind of help you out, or at least guide you, where you're at. Because a lot of times, we're artists and we kind of don't, have that. But yeah, definitely second shoot for someone else, and start getting into the groove of always learning something about photography. Maybe find a mentor, and just hopefully some of this again go back, and maybe there's some little nuggets, definitely for sure, that it's taken us many years to figure out, many years to put the whole thought together, and we're still learning. We haven't figured everything out, but I think it's a good start. 20 years, maybe my next 20 years will be a little bit better. But it's been great. It has been a great journey for me. It has taken me different places around the country, and I'm very happy to have this career. I've taken my wife with me to different locations, and it's just a beautiful thing that there's nothing. You do hear bridezillas and all these things, but I don't really think that. I've ran maybe into one or two of them. They're kind of a little bit, but
They exist.
nothing I can say about my clients that, oh my God, like, no, no, no. I have been maybe in that part lucky, but it is a beautiful career. It does require a lot of your attention, a lot of your effort, and if you treat it good, it will treat you good. But it is one of those things, man. It's just like, you're going to college, you need at least 4 years to start finding a good job. So
Mhm.
yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
Mhm. Very
How
good.
about you, David? Any
Well,
closing remarks?
yeah, I'd just like to close up with this, Ed. If you're young and you're watching this, guys, this right here is like a whole book of 25 years that you're saving yourself from.
That
So
right there.
there, right
Absolutely.
there. That's
Absolutely.
right. That's right. So you're talking to three seasoned veteran photographers that have done this year after year after year. So take this, guys, and run with it, because watch this video, watch it twice, because what we did here today, we dropped a lot of great value, a lot of great information that's going to save you 25 years of hardships and crazy things that you're going to go through. So and wedding photography, all said and done, guys, like Jay said, is very rewarding. There are challenges to it, but there's challenges to every career, any career
Yes,
that you
sir.
go out there. You're gonna have to hustle. Anytime you have a business, there's always a hustle to it, right? So we just
Absolutely.
named many challenges that we come through, the business side of it, the technical aspect of it. There's so many different aspects of being a wedding photographer that a lot of people would not share, even in today's world, would not share this with you. But this is the whole reality, and this is the whole truth. So guys, keep your head up, and if you want to jump in into wedding photography, I will see you at the weddings.
Ed, thank you, sir. Eddie,
And
thank you so much for
Whataburger.
having us, man.
Thank
You
you.
bet, man. What I'd like to do is say thank you very much to my two esteemed colleagues and guests and bros from
Thank you,
South
brother.
Texas, man. Nothing
Thank
but
you,
love
brother.
for you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Also, if you are a brand new photographer or a new wedding photographer or a budding wedding photographer, whatever kind of photographer you are, check out the links down in the description below for Jay Caballero and David Pizzat. Go follow them on their social media. Reach out to them, reach out to me. If you have a question, you're looking for some mentorship, hey, these guys just dropped it all right here. I'm willing to help anyone. Please reach out to us. That's what this video is about. And we're here to help because everybody achieves some amount of success from the help they receive from someone else. You
Yes,
pass
sir.
it down. Good karma always comes around. Thanks, guys. Love you guys. Y'all take care.
Yeah,
And we'll
take
see
care,
you
man.
in the next video.
Stay
Awesome.
warm, Eddie.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you, Ed. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Bye.